Right before making this video, I tweeted this out, which is players who posted a sub 90 PFF grade before getting drafted in the first round as a linebacker. So this is just simply the list of players who did not have a 90 PFF grade the year before they got drafted and still were first round draft picks. Jared Davis, Darren Lee, Shaq Thompson, Rashad Evans, Tremaine Edmonds, and then Devin Bush. Out of these guys, who would you say has really lived up to that first round hype? I think the only guy I would really say is maybe Tremaine Edmonds. He wasn't great last year, but he's at least had times when he's lived up to that hype, so probably him. And that's really it. So for Quay Walker, he had a 71.7 grade, which was worse than all but Jarrad Davis. This is a small sample size, but a bit concerning for Quay. I've also talked about on this channel, talking about how guys who are reaches almost always end up, the consensus was correct about them, that if you reached on someone, you should not have reached on them, and Quay Walker was someone who got reached upon, according to most people, including the consensus draft board. However, it is not fair to simply use Quay Walker as, a number on a stat sheet, right? As people love to say, anytime I bring up analytics, you cannot win a football game on a spreadsheet. And that's true. So let's look at the film and say, okay, is the general rule that, drafting a guy too early and also drafting a linebacker who did not perform great in college, is that general rule going to also be a bad decision here? Or is there some reason to believe that, no, there's other things to like about his game? Let's watch his tape. Let's start off with this play. One thing I noticed about Walker is he's not an overly instinctual player. He's someone who, if you funnel tackles to him, he'll make the tackles, certainly, but he doesn't necessarily go out and just read the play and find a way to make stuff happen. He's very much someone who does his job, so to speak, which isn't inherently a bad thing. But, on this play, it's going to be, you see the blocking concept, I guess you could call it, the screenplay to the top of the screen. Quay Walker is going to be the closest unblocked man. So again, Jameson Williams is going to end up getting the ball here. Do I expect Walker to be able to outrun Jameson Williams? Of course not. Right when this play begins, you do notice that, okay, so Williams is about to get the ball. Walker, just now realizing it, you could argue took him a beat longer than some other guys would reading this play, but that feels a bit nitpicky to me. For me, if it's too nitpicky for me, that's certainly going to be too nitpicky for everyone else, because you know how I love to nitpick. But really what I'm going to want you to see is, so what angle do you think he should take to tackle Jameson Williams? Really think about how should he go about making this tackle? Because again, explosive wide receiver here. And then look at how far in Walker runs to where he ends up just getting blown by Williams. Again, the sideline is your friend. The sideline is an extra defender. Use that. He did not end up making a tackle on that play. That is a negative play simply due to kind of instincts more than anything else. Again, getting beat by Jameson Williams, that's expected, but he put himself in position to get beat with the bad angle. Something like this is another example where it's going to be zone coverage and you see where Walker is on the field. Again, these are things that you can coach up potentially, and I think that's the Packers' mindset, is they're hoping they can teach him this stuff, but there is going to be a learning curve with him, and he might not be incredible as a rookie because of some of this stuff. We'll watch what's going to happen. So first things first, you see where Walker is on the field, and Quay Walker, of course, not Trayvon Walker, the guy who went first overall. Quay Walker, he's circled in white. That is his zone that he is covering. There is a receiver who is off the screen to the left. So in this coverage, what do you do? Well, if there's only two routes underneath, typically you want to cover whoever is closest, who's on your side of the field, who is closest towards the middle of the field. There are a tight end and a halfback on this play. So typically the way this play is going to work is the corner is going to cover the guy who is all the way over towards the left side of the screen, that's off the screen. And then what's going to happen is you have Quay Walker and one other player still to the left side of the screen. So whoever runs further to the offense's right, that's who Walker should be paying the most attention to. Look, as you see right when this play begins, you can see who Walker should be covering. Walker's the one who I've circled in black now, and you see how the other two Georgia players are noticing this and putting themselves in the correct position. Walker, however, a little bit late in getting over there. Again, I want to be clear, I don't think Walker's a trash player or anything. These are some of his worst plays. So I'm not trying to sit here and say that he's a bad player, but just these little things are stuff that the NFL can potentially pick apart, and you should be a little bit concerned. And there are things you can learn, so it's not the end of the world. You just hope that he can eventually, learn this stuff is basically what you have to do, but it just might take some time, and not everyone does learn this stuff. And also just things like this. As a blitzer, he wasn't an overly effective blitzer either in college. Again, he was fine. Like, that's just the thing I kept feeling when I was watching his tape, is he just felt fine in every aspect of the game. He wasn't bad necessarily. I don't think he'll be a garbage NFL player. Like, his consensus big board ranking was a mid-second rounder, and somewhere around there doesn't feel crazy to me, but that's just a big difference between that and 22nd overall. Look at how you see Walker blitz here, and, again, going up against a guard, it just doesn't win. I'm not expecting him to win these every time. That's an insane expectation to put on a linebacker, but that's kind of how I felt about Walker. Was more often than not, when he was in a situation like that, he did not win. And if you're a first-round talent, I'd like you to win at least sometimes. His teammate, Nakobe Dean, would win sometimes. Devin Lloyd, the linebacker from Utah, who also went in round 1, would win a bunch of times. If they drafted him, I wouldn't have minded this pick. It just feels like he wasn't as good as some of the other players on the board. Also going over to something like this, so you see where he is on the field, and watch what's going to happen. Again, look at, as you see, it takes a minute to find a hole and then gets blocked out of the way by a halfback. So again, it's weird because none of these plays in a vacuum are like, oh, he's going to suck then, this play is discouraging. No, and that's not what I think. It can be highly frustrating at times on this channel where it seems like a lot of people are just incapable of nuanced discussions in this stuff, where it's either it was a trash pick or it was an awesome pick, and there is no in between, when that's obviously not the case. And I guarantee you there's already people who have commented in the comment section below who didn't even make it to this far in the video, bashing my thought on this, saying, why are you being so overly critical of Quay Walker? It's just not correct value for your draft pick. The reality is, Quay Walker, as of right now, could not be traded for the 22nd overall pick. Most teams would not do that deal. The vast majority. I'm not sure if any team would do that deal at this point. So that means that you got less value than your pick was. They could use a linebacker, but the issue, of course, is really just, okay, you then, it's just not great asset management is really my issue. I'm not saying they had to go wide receiver here. I'm not saying, well, you needed a wide receiver, why go Quay Walker? Again, if you like Quay Walker and Quay Walker works out, okay, fine, whatever. There have been instances where people thought a pick was a reach and then it didn't work out. That is rare. Typically, when people think a pick is a reach, it is a reach, but there are times when people think a pick is a reach and it's not. This is just one of those times to me where I just didn't love it because I don't love the player. It's really an evaluation thing for me. It's not a team building thing too much, because they could use a linebacker, drafting him 22nd overall when you have all of the other good wide receivers off the board. Okay, I get it. And there was some rumblings about Walker going here, so I don't know if, or going in the first round, so I don't know if you get Walker in round 2, but then get a different linebacker who, still has that value in round 2, because I feel like you're not getting much more value by making sure you get Walker. But, he is a good scheme fit for the Packers. That's what I'll say. I think he'll be a fine player for the Packers. Just, they could have maximized their value more in this draft, I think. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on Quay Walker? Do you think I'm being too hard on this pick? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.